audio recording, take the first half of the video and just put
play
a
it
picture, like put a
Oh,
picture of
so
us
true.
and slap the audio on it, you know.
That's like a lot of editing. I'm honestly not even sure if I could do.
I mean, then you can like remix the audio, you know, like add a beat drop or some shit, you know, like fuck it, let's get creative, you know.
Ryan, the iPad ran out of storage, so we're recording the rest on the headphones. How sad is that? Oh. What's the order?
Just the kick.
So what?
Other cards?
No, I mean I sent a document out with like references, but it's like. It's just the critique. Yeah, I mean, I'll start on the framework and sort of the generalizable stuff that they did at the top after the overview. But this is one of those times where like the overview's like kind of long.
You said framework first, then overview?
Now overview, then their framework argument about like
You were just warning us the overview was long.
yeah overview.
Yeah.
How are we all good?
Yeah.
Joanna, are you ready? Kurt?
Yeah.
Remember the words of the captain, maternal lucid flint, and we will wear new bones, and we will be splendid, and we will break out through another mouth and sun, and anytime the fundamental thesis of the one is that the absence of professionalization and revolution that leaves black liberation behind for the sake of interest convergence, frame this through the equal day 22 evidence in the one you see dismantlement is not about the sovereign state itself, but the circulation of state capital. You should understand this as sovereignty of realism is just found in state, is found in our interpersonal relations and the way we police black thought, which the tangible evidence and anti-state position is not a pro-black position. They are good at criticizing anti-black practices of the state, but not good at explaining how anti-black violence happens with the community. The affirmative does little to nothing to attack for the underpinning violent state it is formally to begin with, which means that you should censor the captain maternal first. Captain maternals are not identified by individual personal identities. They're functions that are identified through stages. What Joe James means by this is that there's no authentic claim of who embodies best captain maternal best, and instead it is always a debate of the best security plan and against anti-black violence. The first figure is the caretaker, care without a legal obligation and love for community that can range from daily acts to mutual aid programs. Second is the protest with movement maker in response to state-sanctioned death. One goes out to roast the conditions but lacks the material and pain. These first two stages are problematic. Joy James says the actions they take recapitulate often reproduce the state, i.e. the caretaker allows individual acts of liberation become substitutes for community liberation, and the protester devolves the movement down to creation of non-profits that get funding from places like police stations or collude with institutions responsible for state-sanctioned death. The next stages are, however, more revolutionary, i.e. maroonish, like freedom camps, the Black Panthers, there's model of breakfast programs, Claudia Joe's work in the Communist Party, USA through the triple oppression frame. The war rebel is the figure ready to sacrifice to take up arms against the state, knowing that they may lose their life in the process, but that the struggle is worth it in the end because you committed to the politics of revolution, love for the community as opposed to oneself, i.e. Jonathan Jackson sacrificing his life for the sake of George Jackson in the form of prison rebellions because of the love that he felt for the revolution. Our arguments that the world is computed through anti-black captivity logic that the U.S. uses to train itself to export it to trans indigenous and other places around the world, i.e. think of the reason why literature, life, rules of analogy, and false equivalencies exist. There exists a libidinal nature by non-black people or by non-black people to always wrongfully identify with black people because anti-black structures all our relations. No matter what the 1AC says, we must surrender our impact voters through the analysis of the captain maternal because the blackness is in but not of this world, and turning into the war rebel is the only way to transcend, and therefore framer or counter role of the ballot. Our preference is for captain maternals with a security plan. The role of the ballot is to vote for the best security plan. First, material violence requires material strategies. Fragmentation because of the link debates means that you should censor the alternative first. Second, it is impossible to understand and what generalizable means, at what scope, at what scale, at what speed, etc. are all questions that Iowa hasn't answered. They just assert generalizable without understanding what that means in the concept of captain maternal, which means that you should refuse their interpretation is completely completely self-serving because they will all inevitably re-articulate what that means in the 1 ear and 2 ear, and you should not trust them because us as non-black people do not embody the capital material. Instead, you should default to what Joy Gibbs says as in the 1 and C, the permutation 1. Every link is a disset that turns the case and access and that benefits to the all that functions better than the F alone or the perm. Second is severance. We have different interpretations of how we should organize struggle through. Severing from the F is an affirmation. Severing the F as an affirmation of general strike makes their advocacy conditional to voter from pedagogical integrity because it shows that they abandon their general strike whenever they want, magnifying the hustling black death argument. Our evidence explicitly says as to reject this in favor of splitting the 1 into 2, i.e. reject the first 2 categories of the capital maternal that Iowa is complicit in, and instead only affirm the latter 2. After that, the capitalist realism. This had 1, we theorize the different relations of the world, which is the stuff I did above. But second is that the links will prove that you replicate the capitalist and state logics of sovereignty within the movement itself. After that, they defended the Angela Davis argument is only saying that we are defending their criticisms of fascism. Our argument is that your invocation of Angela Davis and George Jackson is interchangeable. Is the link itself because the stages of the capital maternal means that their refusal to specify what stage they defend is a link that turns the case. I.e., at the bottom of the twisty when they say we meet is vague and does not say anything. We will extend the revolutionary phase link here. Every single time they identify a specific form of activist, they say is the best one to embody. It is an example of the movement turning inward on itself. I.e., the first one is W.E.B. Du Bois. W.E.B. Du Bois were promoted in black excellency, represented the proper black people who held a commitment to black respectability, driving them to oppose depictions of blackness that they felt represented white depictions of black identity. Such authenticity policing led them to oppose the writing and expressions of Zora Neale Hurston as that of old black politics. They worried that the black characters in their books, laugh loud, dance long, spoken dialect, and were in general gleefully country were somehow dragging down black people as a whole. Such policing of black identity and expression mirrors fashion tendencies to prioritize certain performances and characteristics of humanity over others. Du Bois and others thought Zora Neale Hurston's black expression is inherently less than, leading her to die poor and unrecognized. Even when he walked back his promotion of the talents and black excellency, he still promoted the logic that criminalized Zora Neale Hurston in the first place. We inserted a link to the article that explains this reference of the story and means that the average character of W.B. Du Bois is always revolutionary without attending to the injury violence he caused to specific people. Second is Angela Davis. Angela Davis, because of her position as a celebrity, now has assumed a less revolutionary position as a capital maternal because of her professionalization in the academy that positions her against people like George Jackson. Her rise as a celebrity has ultimately distanced herself, even if we think her intentions are good, because it criminalizes George Jackson, i.e. it is okay to reach for go in the academy but never to read George Jackson by themselves. People think that there are inherently qualities that Davis did that makes her better than Jackson, i.e. maneuvering through the academy, being able to talk with politicians, being able to talk with other people. Jackson practiced revolutionary law where he was living to die, where Angela Davis was willing to only march. The difference is the endpoint. Think about Davis' current wishy-washy standpoints on Palestine. One day it is abolition, the other day it's a temporary ceasefire. Articles will tell you she's an abolitionist, but people who attend the actual conferences will tell you that she's not committed, whereas George Jackson was always committed to things like prison breaks. Our examples prove that abolition unfolds inwards on itself in favor of approved metrics of the trauma and evidence we read in the 1C, specifically impact terms, i.e. think of when people preach about politicians who want to abolish rights like AOC or small incremental steps to abolish the police. We look up to politicians that, even if they are capital maternals who have their best interests at heart, it is a reactionary impulse that always sets it back. You'll never get pragmatic consensus. There will always be filling somewhere else or conventional shit after nuclear disarmament, and the app only recreates this logic of pro-optimism. Troutman is an organizer who has been on the ground in Atlanta to stop Cop City and grew tired of this abolitionist impulse, and instead says that we need to return to the roots of abolition that is a favor towards more revolutionary violence, i.e. the first James evidence says that when we talk about revolutionary phase in the academy, it is always of approved metrics and never people who want slavery abolitionism on the ground, i.e. incarcerated people like Mumia Abu Jamal would say that we need to take a step further, but the affirmative will never go to that endpoint, because remember, their examples are giving people rent, cooperation Jackson. None of those were explained about how they are forms of revolutionary love, which means the endpoint is vague. Therefore, do the alternative. The specific politics of the rebel are redacted for strategic reasons. We will not discuss the specific ones because it will lead to co-option. We will simply say that this debate is a study of the way we care for each other in pursuit of revolutionary love, which we think that the affirmative impact in itself. After the Angela Davis example, they read a card about it, but I'm pretty sure that all of the links I did just impacts her or the stuff they said. After that, they said that they were clear in their advocacy, that they were a refusal of this world. The links will obviously prove that they fall back inwards on themselves. Extend the academic savers only. We as academics have no stake in the game. We should not be the ones trying to define what abolition is, because then we result in big definitions or create self-serving inserts about how much abolition we need to embody. Cooperation Jackson and the other movements they named at the top of the 2C overview, it's not them. They never said examples like Cooperation Jackson never said we should disarm nuclear weapons, which means you shouldn't put words in people's mouths. It is the example of professionalization. The call for the battle is a form of Israeli politics. The idea that the winning has correctly responds to the calls of people on the ground in a form of correct manner is a sacred logic that mirrors how non-black people engage studies are motivated by academic capital to make black studies better, or think that they are finally the ones to make the correct linkage to make black studies better. This is a logic productivity that is counter to the black art tradition that identifies revolution on the ground as opposed to the academy. The labor just had wanted. The link shows that you put more labor on the people excluded as a result of citing Du Bois as the primary general general strike person because it proves that the people excluded always have to prove their work was enough for the general strike in the women of the 1EC. Second is the form arguments. You can't win that the app is discussion and is good if we win a link. It means that your introduction of your app in this space was bad and ours was better, which means we can be a better form of debate of discussion carried within in the Captain Maternal. That means that you should stop hustling like that. The Paris 21 evidence says that when people engage movements on the ground, i.e. Sean King going to Samira Rice talking about let me use Samira Rice as a way to advance the global Black Lives Matter movement. What happened was Samira Rice never got a redress. That only got $60,000 while Sean King became a millionaire off of her son's death. Therefore, the alternative reject the 1EC's unconditional affirmation of the Captain Turtle is splitting the one into two, which is what I said above. The alternative is obviously different than the affirmative. The shift is set is answered by the link. We have impacts your form of reformism because it causes conventional shift, whereas your reform meets to stay on the state's demands and ours meets demands on the ground. I'll extend the last argument here. Well, if they think this is a pick and they try to hear in the end, picks are good. One argument finding specific criticism of certain workforces. The affirmative to research every aspect of the 1EC, and when they lose on it, they're incentivized to go back to the drawing board, which allows people to reclaim agency. Picks allow marginalized people to reclaim agency against people who use slurs under the rest of words against them. That's good because it asserts a command for those who it's always been denied. And picks encourage ancient community debates over the use of certain theories, authors, and specific examples. 15 seconds left. When the 1 era makes new defenses of Angela Davis and W.E. Du Bois, our argument is that the exact silence that they have prefaced by not talking about like the ways that they have set certain movements back is the link, right? You can't re-articulate it because it's about the like enunciation of them in the first place.
Are you good for call?
Yeah.
Okay. You read picks good. Is it a pick or are you picking it up?
No, it's like if the judges understand it to be a pick because we're only affirming certain stages of the Captain Maternal, then like
Okay.
I'll have to provide picks good arguments,
Okay,
but we don't
that's
think
fine.
it's a pick. We think it's a refusal of the 1EC and different.
The first link argument where you made the arguments about Dubois and Davis, you were making an argument about like why individualizing resistance is good because people like that set movements back. How does the alternative solve this link?
Well, again, it's never the question of solving because we refuse to hustle like that.
But I guess my question is, so like on the alternative debate, you gave examples of like revolutionary love and why those are probably good. I don't understand why this isn't like also why individual acts of revolutionary love would also lead to counterinsurgent moments.
Well, give an example.
You made an argument why solvency doesn't matter, but then also like have this conflicting idea of like why individuation might be counterinsurgent but might not. I'm trying to understand like the link differential.
The link differential is the link today. I think to crystallize this more, I need you to give me an example of what you think revolutionary love would fold in like that.
Let me ask a follow-up question. What is revolutionary love?
Revolutionary love is the ability for you to want to sacrifice anything for the sake of destruction of the state. It is saying that you are completely worthy of the struggle, of you being able to be willing and offer any strategy that you can towards that like end goal.
Why is offering those strategies good?
Because the links prove that anything short of that folds back in on itself and causes a recapitulation of state logics. We think it's sort of like, you know, if it helps make any more sense, it's kind of like a try or die argument, right? Your form of abolition will always fold back in on itself. Our specific stages of the Captain Maternal are key to break free.
Okay, what is, the first thing you said was that being worthy of struggle. What does that mean?
It says that it's like the work that people put in towards that end goal. To be worthy means that the work you put in towards that is completely worthy. It's like, it's not saying that it's like there's a distinction between, you know, we get to determine who's worthy or who's not. The worthy argument is that you are worthy of that struggle, however way you want to take it, as long as you are oriented towards that end goal.
Okay, and why is, so would you say that the alternative is an endorsement of revolutionary love? Because you've also said that like solvency is like a bad frame, right?
Yeah.
What is the frame through which we understand the alternative?
The frame is like revolutionary love is what orients the stages to shift, right? You go from the corrupted caretaker, the compadre of the state, to the war rebel, the maroon.
Okay, what's the difference between those two things?
The difference between them.
Like a compadre of the state and a war.
Compadres of the state inevitably seek solutions in recognition from the state. The war rebel and the maroon seek solutions away from it.
What does recognition from the state mean?
Like, bless me. Wait, say it again.
What is
Recognition from the state mean?
Recognition from the state looks like non-reformist reforms of abolition. I forgot to do this.
What is the non-reformist reform?
What's up?
What's the non-reformist reform?
Pragmatic concessions from the state. Like the one you see has like.
Okay. That's
Alright, I'm sending the cards right now. It's gonna be the poetry off first, and then it's gonna be the quiz. should be sent. Did we get it yet?
I got it. Let me download it.
Here we go.
Give me one second. I'm moving it up. I'm
Okay. I am. Cool. You go. Alright. I'll start a couple seconds.
Vote negative for a poetic intervention into the 1EC poetry that was done. The 1EC took a different mental liberation. The 1EC is focused about waxing, pointing about movements that exist in South Korea right now that are burned out without providing a solution to how the movement gets stronger. Every movement attacked in the 1EC and listed are organizing in South Korea right now are non-unique communities. No reason why Iowa has made them better independently. The alternative, as a game of poetic intervention, would give people on the guard energy to fight another day. It's especially true in the face of the violence that the 2EC goes through when they say that there is violence going on in Congo right now, which capitalism is killing people, accumulating sorts of resources and causing climate change, acceleration, action yourself. How did the 1EC solve their impact? Other than they say they generalize a strike is extremely problematic because Iowa's only response to crossing that debate is key because the mobilized people is not true. Nobody sees Iowa have and participate in the general strike. They have not even listed movement in the status quo that people can join, providing no resources for how people to get there. Proof that's performing the dispatch to their model. Also not provided a material strategy, pedagogy, and practice other than performance, which is not a response to be straightforward is through the critique page, which proves that if we win any risk of them being counter-insurgents, that means that you should reject them on face. Also, our freedom dreams are good because they get into violence by helping people live to fight under the actual dreams, i.e. the way in which we dream of those dreams and how to feel to get there, which is the poetry I gave, which is a competitive method that impacts all their exhaustion arguments will go for it because we have said that the art practice and competition should be good and seen that for a field, not for only people in this room, but countermaterial is large. Permutation 1, no perm, Dr. Warren. At the end of the poem that said that some things are for us, by us, the 2AC should not get a permutation because some things are only for us, but also there is no perm to each. We made specific arguments why these two are two different competing performances in your role doesn't devote for their better performance, not about doing both because there's already nuanced strategy, making it allow for infinite method combination. Also, if it is true, this is a tactic debate per cross-site, they definitely should not get a permutation in order to vote and find out which tactic is bad. Sort of original capitalism, no perm to the method debate, one is K debates are good, 3, these are the ones see the plan, like anything else allows them to pick and choose parts of advocacy matter in no particular way. This debate should be about competing method and the perm gives them an uphill advantage, which makes it possibly negative. Also, second, the revolutionary testing is key to find the benefit strategy, which is the KVK debates and tactic debate they gave in choice across like the perm designers from having a real conversation about this method because the 2HC spent 1 minute on it, just said perm do each and moved on, proved that it destroyed the ability to have nuanced debates. Also, 3 is separate, is still links or separate. Also, specific link arguments are just to the perm if they cannot jettison their method. We are impact trading, it makes being negative possible, ignoring criticism. Also, the form of white fluidity that should be rejected. Every standard is a voting issue and reject the team for pedagogical integrity. They say the after the prerequisite, no, you can flip this. The alternative is the prerequisite to the app. Movements in the status quo right now are not unique and movements are tired, which means that you should vote negative against those movements. Energy via poetry was conceded weren't coming out the 2AC. Also, the answer to their materiality argument debate is not key because nobody joins those movements once you vote app and they haven't provided any resources to prove that you just fall back in the academy. Materiality cannot come first because epistemology and energy precedes the ability to do those things in the first place, which means that the alternative is definitely a prerequisite and you should vote app on it. Go to or negative on it. Go to the case now. 1, vote negative on presumptions. And 1 must have a stable advocacy in the negative contest and negate the violation that they have not practiced. And 1 is going to be conflation, negative scholarship, practicing the burden for absolvency, principle, introduction of how new is new enough to evolve the infantry aggressive debates means that they how new. This means that lectures, seminar, books all saw when the 1AR gets up and said that they have provided material examples for movement. They have said that they can organize things like general strikes, they can organize things like housing, etc. All this stuff is non-unique. There's no reason why Iowa specifically in this ballot in this room can follow things. The proof I should definitely hold the line here. And secondly, leveraging they destroy the existing work of activists right now. Just find their own call for the ballot. Undercuts the work that activists are doing now beyond the university. It demotivates teens from engaging in revolutionary strategy outside debate. Also, unending story is impossible to determine whether or not civistic done their method with pacified activism. Actually, I need to go back to the critique really quick. I'll give you time to the paper because my work is messed up. One, they say nuclear extraction. One, the apps cannot solve it. There's no internal link for the apps. We love to challenge nuclear violence in the Congo. You should reject the team for commodification and fungibility. You have talked about African dying in the Congo for a ballot means that you need to stop publicly black death. Also, you control the root cause argument that apps is bad. If not, grapple with the fact that anti-blackness does control ontology and all their impact, i.e. the slave has been the biggest tool of extraction, i.e. the ability of the world producing infinite slaves. Your remaining mining in the Congo is only possible through anti-blackness. The same for panics and racial capitalism. Often they go for, they say that we make a collection. One, not true. Nothing happens outside of space. When you vote apps means that the ballot can only represent our relationship to scholarship with the way we produce and affirm in the academy. They say faster than now. The app definitely cannot solve that shit. You read this app before. And right-wing fascists like Game Fishback are still terrorizing the space to prove that the app does not do anything to challenge it. Appears to challenge it at all. Also, they say that we cannot explain ontology. I did that work above, which proves that you should hold the line. I'm going to go to the trans analytics stuff here. One, addressing anti-black violence comes first. One of the people in our thesis, the one you see, is parasitic on black life and black revolutionaries, which proves that they profit from black people that are suffering from an anti-black world. Framing questions that if we win any resource offense, you reject the negatives in order to reject investments within counterinsurgency. Also, any discussion outside of anti-blackness, one, does not exist because the capital material undergirds systems of slavery and the world. But secondly, also, it's colorblind as hell is already a voting issue. It means that they distort critical scholarship and only who voting negative can solve it. Also, you don't get permutation. I did that work above. I'll extend a little bit here. It's a method be method debate. And being it's key to find a way revolutionary strategy is best, and they're not really planned. It means that it's severing, which is a voting issue for somebody did above. I'm going to go to the Bo Larson stuff here. Now, one, the rigid binary, G, cisgender as privileged trans, as not appearing wrongly, assumes assist. You know what I say, the being system is an anti-black improposition of her gender on the black. Just prove that you should not give them a permutation here because it's about two competing strategies. Also, the one he assumes that black is to take on gender roles through their theorization and broadly of racial capitalism and accumulation and prove that it's something to borrow the guys made as Larson. 23, wishing that black is trans argumentation, disagreement regarding gender communication, including the use of gender, eliminates the market advantages back in the argument that assumes the heterosexual proof on the black people already gender in. Secondly, you want to use the by anti-black instructions means to be gender, how is acting with the dangerous and happy of the proof on the black people and falling in the black people's market is really falling in the proper conception of her rights and the identity already really progressing black as the sexual de facto the plantation and debate is built on the parasitic relation to blackness. Actually, I'm not going to read that card. And solvency based in trans visibility, the narrative of Archie Pargo that's couched in anti-blackness, willing to balance visibility is built on the black anti-blackness and based on Larson. 20 positive paper provides whether you were assimilated to the trans advocacy not track and the organization is for black orientation members and the community to the solution to many based on the transition to air travel and after paperwork, proving them in training start, pointing along the landscape, other points are making solution activity, trans organization, animated black radicals, actually from homophobia, transphobia, from the fact that water down potential people, inclusive trans to the changes in visibility of the condition. By selling down the big organization, private visibility while pursuing the.
I put my timer 8 minutes and count so I don't have to answer 41 times, so it was like 47. No one wants that.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
Gene, did y'all watch any rounds? Can y'all go watch a round, please? That's true. 'Cause it's fine for now. Next round, though, for sure.
Not if we get there first, though.
Har, 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 har. So funny. This is probably really random, but does anybody know who's AF in the OG PW debate?
Harvard that.
Oh, you know what?
The Cap K.
We'll see if there's like questions. And you know if there's oranges outside?
I didn't see it.
I'm gonna check for the 15.
Alright. Case, poetry, K. Alright, say that again. Case, poetry, K. Thank you. Anyone already?
1 second. I'm good.
Okay. Anyone already? Alright. Fascism is fragile. It relies on bits of inevitability and individualization of resistance to embrace and crush insurgent social life, both of which they have performed this way through their libidinal economy claims and through their individualization like preemptive counter-revolution works with the order of moral panics or reproducing transnational blackness, whether it's where replacement is or racialized violence over the French blackness or trans as existential threat. The one I see resolves those things by stopping the reproduction of this world. It could generalize as a collective refusal of the political and moral economy to incline towards projects of collectivizing and generalizing our existence to hold the metabolic function of capital itself, not only conventional shift but the reproduction of a world that could have the U.S. as the nation in the first place. We do not conflate scholarship and praxis by and largely hashed out on the firm on the critique specific examples. If us leveraging that is bad, then you leveraging them is bad. Between the alternative fails. That what I see does not profit from the what I see does not profit from black people. The vast majority of their arguments are here about we get distort critique scholarship wrong. With the framing issue for the most of the links is that they are just simply think we are something that we are not, which is i.e. they think we're reformism when we are to end the reproduction of this world. Now the largest piece of evidence on gendering is wrong, but also violent because it forecloses our ability to understand the sort of gender violence that happens to produce the figure of the capital maternal in the first place, i.e. the transphobic violence in the black community, the song based on transferability. What the fuck are you talking about? Reject the team. In light of all the explanations that we've done, the link is that we are trans people talking about things in debate. Violence fuck because they've overcoded. That is vote for us because we're trans, which preclude, which comes before the level of K. Go to the poetry flow. This flow is full of double turns with the critique. I will point out a couple here, but only our model can resolve them. There will be on the further debate on the table. Will answer this because it impacts terms using individualism like poetry. First, on the top level, energy. It comes from material things, i.e., the reason why your debate is de-energizing is there's material vectors and anti-blackness within it that make things like survival strategies have taken possible in the first place, which means that we control the direction of solvency, not that it means that it means that only planning to scale can resolve instead of fighting another day within this world. This is the reformist logic that they critique. They said that we haven't listed movements people can join or how to get there. That is the reason why the alternative fails. The affirmative has done that. I'll do more on the critique. There's no risk of counterinsurgency. Now, yes, firms in method debate because they say voting for the better performance is intellectually aggressive is also devolves to violence. They interpret us as trans, and then they interpret us as saying vote first because we're trans, and then they instead of vote first because our poachers go to demonstrate that devolves to an impossible standard of competition that proves it's more violent. They said method debates are good. Concession of our framework destroys anything else. They said quote destroys nuance, which you should remember when you go to the critique. Nobody should for pedagogical integrity. If they don't want to uphold these like to make space in the first place, I answer materiality first below above. Okay. Top level 3-win framework within the debate. Remember, scale gives us competition. The alternative fails because it did not allow us to replicate the general strike within debate or outside of it. Because they have said that individualistic strategies are good. They might stem with the capital control, but long beach is refusal and cross the to explain what the rubric for rejecting counterinsurgency is. It's kind of pacifism. We articulate that fascism reinsert itself. The alternative does not allow us to replicate the general strike because it says that individuals should do things like Jonathan Jackson sacrificing himself or George Jackson in prison, whereas the alternative affirmative has said that we should generalize those things to end this world. Either it competes or the permutation solves. So when there's competing practices for what it means to transfer social conditions, like the fact that they said the tactics are bad, those terms agree that anti-black and anti-American violence is all-time high, that you as a judge should prioritize the best method to stop continuation of those structures. Uniquely good at CEDA, not a word on that in the blog when every other term enforces endless as you debate. So people are self-western debate, drop thinking about about why this space matters, but they have not one. What they do is good for people in this room. Self-western to be proved with the ask about uranium waste that they pass away to the tournament, and how centering material solvency is good because it provides some tactics, demonstrates why winning the tournament turns the entire K and impact turns. The frame that they want you to use to evaluate this week is because they made a dogmatic assertion that solvency is bad. We have analysis about why it's good. Scaling tactics is often willing to debate to prove the scaling method is more counterinsurgency, so you should hold them responsible for it. Now, ontology, I will do the topic of the biblical and political economies are intertwined. We are an entire part of this, which is the big piece of evidence where I'm clearly flagged that they even asked about it in process, so you should totally remember it. Every incarnation of anti-blackness is mechanism, capital, slavery, sugarcoating the prison industrial complex. Only the affirmative can resolve the way that those liberal and political economies are intertwined. Else, the only resolution of the liberal economy reproduces the political economy and definitely produces anti-black violence, the professionalization of abolition. No, feeling way harder individualism by saying revolutionary love is good, making conditions, making arguments about Jonathan Jackson, the Jackson sacrificing himself to Boyd and Davis. We said generalization was good. They link harder because they say individual acts of love solve. Obviously, Captain Turtles can do violence, which is something they conceded when they say that Davis is Captain Turtle, who is a reformist, which means the alternative can solve nothing, whereas the alternative can solve nothing, whereas the affirmative can solve both of our impacts. Anti-black violence exists in debate. Obviously, CRT bans, anti-black surveillance in debate are all things what is theorized, and now the alternative, if it gets out of the caretaker movement, making the we get part of the afferent through processing the gap is bad because of the stages of reform and movement making, whereas the alternative affirmative ends this world at stages 3 and 4. Essentially, see Alvarez here solves the value of the world arguments in the 1 and on reformers in the 2 and C. Read the card after the debate. It's extremely good. It says that it critiques the figure of the worker who would work for reforms within this world and says that we should refuse the kind of social reproduction that produces that makes blackness the value of the world in the first place. Not only does the 1AC not seek that, remember 1AC crosses from the 1AC impact turns that and says it would compete. It does not work. We would say that those things are bad. Remember that they theorize social reproduction and reproduction world. So the vast majority of the committee has been answered about when we charge just opposition. The James Sykes free radical call for a general cycle will be solved. The first link I answered dimensional shifts about tactical discussions done above as well. Interchangeability make war makes new sentences. General strike refuses this world. These are all links to the all, not the actions. They identify individual actions as good. The no part of one for conventional shift solves individual because there are examples of our rent strikes or cooperation action on a status quo that orient themselves towards reform. All those rehighlights are things with what he criticizes and demands that none of the world is purpose the permutation to the gap is the only way to solve.
It's 7:37.
At 37?
Yeah. We have like
Yeah, that's right. 7:37. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Oh, so
If I honestly have a lose.
you guys went to the bathroom.
You just like put your phone in the extension cord on the ground has both buttons and like the leaders buttons.
Critique, the poetry sheet, and then case. Cursive. Okay. We got book in. I have Ian.
The question you have to answer in this debate is if Iowa is fully known itself at the liberal sovereignty and state logics and the way it infiltrates the general strike, every single one of us has agreed that there are four stages that captain maternal exist. The first two should be separated, the latter two should be affirmed. We have all also agreed that anti-blanking sutures all of our relationships and that we are always indebted, which means that you should filter this debate through the captain maternal. The first two stages are caretakers and protesters without a seamless revolution that leads to the rationalization of abolition and the criminalization of revolutionary lovers like George Jackson and Zora Neale Hurston, whereas the latter two stages are maroons and rebels who seek total destruction to offer what they can and are willing to offer because they are completely worthy of that struggle. If you feel like our speech doesn't have a clear alt-Saul's argument, or if you feel like you have a clear vision of what to do, our argument is that this is the point. James says that rebels and maroons never know if they commit their politics to will ever be enough. They never know if they will make it out alive. They never know if the work they do will be successful. But the argument nonetheless is that you are worthy of that struggle nonetheless because it's the only one that transcends and refuses this world. We have not individualized ourselves. We have counter-theorized cares to understand how we relate to other people. They have individualized themselves by hustling the death of others in this academy to try and get a ballot, which we have only said we think formulating the rights of care is good. I'm not an extended presumption argument. I am simply stating that what the act has caused a bad result. If we win a league, it means two things. One, it means that the pragmatic concessions version of abolition that Angela Davis Du Bois championed through general strikes only result in villain. If you disarm a nude, you'll be overwhelmed by conventional ones. If you pay one person's rent, you'll get 1,000 or more new people that just need as much. Our argument is that their vision of general strike is kind of signal failure, where they never say that the work of non-reformers reforms never enough, causing serial movement failure, i.e. they don't know what they're doing is a trap. Pragmatic contention won't save you, so vote negative. Second, it excludes revolutionary lovers and other versions of the capital Maternal, which require more extraction and erases all the violence, evident by the fact that they have not said her name. Zora, Neil Hurst, and Framework roll the balance to both for the best security plan for the capital Maternal. First is that violence requires different strategies of care. Second is that the impossibility of generalizability is infinitely regressive. What is the scope of speed and scale? Failure to specify means you should refuse it. Quote, if we win Framework, we win the debate. Sounds like a lot of traditional policy interpretations that shows how sovereignty infiltrates the 1 ER, generalizes in this world. How, when you do it, how do you do it? Questions that they can't answer. These debates are not uniquely good at CEDA. I said if I prove the app is bad, then it's bad everywhere. CEDA is not a unique space. Their scale arguments are wrong. Stop hustling. You should start hearing instead the libidinal arguments. We did not make a water study in defense of libidinal economies, but you also conceded that every single one of our acts is sutured by anti-blackness, which means reject the argument on there. The permutation one, every link is a dissent that turns the case. Second is severance. We are different interpretations of how we should organize struggle through. They said general strike. We said revolutionary love. They said care by variety rent, which is the caretaker. We said affirm prisoners who can teach on the ground like Mumia. Abu Jamal, a person who is George James Capital Maternal, severing the avenues to advocacy condition is the voter pedagogical integrity because it shows that they abandoned the strike whenever convenient, magnifying the husband back death argument. 3, drop. We, as academics, have no stake in the game, specifically in abolition, which takes out the CEDA argument. We should not be the ones trying to define abolition because then it results in vague definitions as per process. 4, stop putting words in people's mouth. Cooperation Jackson and other people will not say do harm nuke, so you don't let them get solvency links. Failure to specify these stages is bad. It means that the affirmers refuse to specify what stage the defendant is a link that turns case and makes identifying the distinction between the corrupted caretaker compadre of the state and the war rebel impossible to identify. I will extend the Du Bois link because it was God. Du Bois promoted black excellency. Du Bois represented the proper black person who held a commitment to black respectability politics by driving them to oppose depictions of blackness that they felt represented depictions of black identity. Such authenticity leading them to police people like Zora Neale Hurston as the old form of black politics. They were worried that black characters in their books would laugh out, dance talk, spoken out like were in general gleefully country were somehow dragging down on the race as a whole. Such policing of black identity expression mirrors the fashion tendency that they criticize. Even when he walked back on this through the talented side arguments, he still promoted logics of it. The framing issues that they did not say her name in the 1 year, acknowledge the criticism, or even talk about how a general strike reduces intercommunal conflicts. For every person that joins the app, another 10 get rejected for not acting, speaking, looking right. This is the hustling black death argument, where the app professionalize themselves to become saviors, the next Sean Kings of abolition that take the death of people like Samira Rice and never offer redress to the ones most affected, mothers like Samira Rice, captive maternals like Hurston get left behind for the sake of generalizing the movement. We have posed the question, what does it mean to generalize if all you have done is become anti-black and a compadre in the process? That is the example between Angela Davis and George Jackson. It is comfortable to learn Angela Davis, but never to actually analyze George Jackson and how he was a true revolutionary. They made this argument about the critique of the worker, solving the link. Critique of the worker does not solve this. Ask yourself the question, what does the critique of the worker do for someone like Zora Neale Hurston, who was criticized for being a bad black woman who didn't speak right? None of that is about the worker. It is about the policing of blackness within blackness itself. Therefore, the alternative, reject the one who sees unconditional affirmation of Catholic maternals in favor of splitting the 1 into 2. For reject the first 2 stages, affirm the latter stages. It is functionally different than the app. They have conceded that picks are go for argument refinement, which leads to better subject formation. Go to poetry now. There is 0 double turn. The poetry was an example of Curtis's function as a captive maternal, which is reflective of a broader practice of care that we affirm. Captive maternals don't have a gender identity, but instead a function. The poetry was an example of Maroonage and rebellion. We did not make an argument about their identity as it relates to transness. It was a critique of their invocation of trans argumentation. Go to the voter that made on case. Curtis did not call any of them trans. He read an argument about the ways in which the one sees attempts to theorize blackness with trans is bad because it ignores the ways that attempts to understand blackness with the anti-trans panic is bad because it ignores the ways in which blackness overcodes gender, i.e. the ways in which captive maternals are always masculized, even though their main function is to care for the black community, i.e. captive maternals don't have a function, identity, or gender, but they always perceived as such. You should reject the team for the false incrimination because it justifies inbred violence that you as educators should find unethical to justify it. If you cannot interpret the violence by the end of the twin, you should not give the Twitter any new answers or articulation to criminalize Curtis. Terminal deep into the voters that the cards we read are contextual to the app, not about Iowa. The Higgins 23 evidence, the Rajabad are evidence, and the 1AC are about conjoining the understanding of trans violence and anti-black violence, which we have impacts are not done in bad faith about the characters, but the criminalization that Iowa has done in bad faith. Curtis did not say your names or personally use the ballot against black debaters as a form of partial logic, which proves that they know the counterinsurgents, i.e. you can't say this is a unique space to affirm the app at CEDA, but then think that you shouldn't be held to your performance as well. At worst, you should reject the team to protect black debaters, but also at worst, it's a performative impact turns to the app because it shows that in general strike movements, white people will always violently criminalize people of color. It should trouble your understanding of black solvency when you're thinking about how movements together because they performantly destroy organizing power through the voter because nobody will want to join it, which means there is no solvency here. It is not about what they do for people, but rather how they present care.
We have 241. Give me like a second. Case. Oh, sorry.
You said case K?
I don't think this will fall out this time. Oh. Okay.
I would offer to let y'all use our stand, but low key, like my legs are kind of flat.
You're good. No, it was my fault the last time. It was my fault.
Let's make sure they're close to that. Sometimes I should do that.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's coming back. Oh, never mind. I lied. Oh, wait, never mind. He's here.
Just let me know where I'm sitting.
You could do it.
Case K.
Shoot, let's do it.
Okay, everyone's done that.
Vote after we endorse the general strike is refusal to engage in the reproduction of this world. Here's how you were validating the debate. One is that we are when you drop beneath this claim that human other capitalism is collapsing now because all descended the system back into being into the world through fascist crack on the index of capitalism, realism, transformation. Their refusal to invest in any questions of sovereignty, permanency, crossing tells us that capitalism is inevitable. That means the alternative is way more counterintuitive to the Athens guys destroy things like individual acts of sacrifice over the collective refusal to reproduce value that makes up this world in the first place. Second is affirmative rating. Human hours way behind on the standards because the human hours too late to answer example about our Southwestern debates. CSU grandstands on what they have does for this space, but they have not answered our links that's tactical discussions of solvency are better for this space, especially in CEDA because material problems like Southwestern talks about their ads, i.e. passing uranium storage on the winter started require tactical solutions which impact their refusal to specify what the alternative looks like or what it can do for the people who are actually competing at this tournament that's an independent impact rate of the candidate can vote on alone, even if they win their theory claims about the captive maternal because it means that their political orientation towards the world is one that is not worse than the affirmative third because the link may be have turned in, hey, double check themselves and is therefore more counter-assertion than the app there. Critique of individualized moments, people like Dubois or Davis is true of the app, true of the alternative, but not the app. I'll be very clear about the link differential here that generalizing the strike solves the counter-assertion impact because they uniquely refuses to localize their resistance to one person. The example of rent strikes was that, i.e., one person refusing to pay the rent for the whole building or city was the example, but they have localized the alternative to examples of revolutionary level like self-sacrifice, which is what allows the captive control like Angela Davis to reproduce, reform, or violence that was an explicit truancy consensual that leads to them not us. Now vote. Now the vote argument there was no vote here. It was bad. It's not false discrimination because our link was not to them calling us trans explicitly, but to the tag of the Larson evidence that you can see in the email chain that says, quote, solvency based and trans visibility is a narrative arc in progress. When have we ever said that? Not a single cross justifies that this is the way that intercriminal violence happens because they have not been there criminalizing them for something they haven't done. When we have pulled a really specific line and explained why that if I they think that we have said trans visibility solves presumably because we are trans theorizing anti-trans and anti-violence as equals good. Let's understand the violence that comes from them. That was the theory of acceleration capitalism in the one which means we solve it. No, not much independent officer any work way ways which means it's not an independent motor. Not going to go to the page. Proper now framework evaluate the method of one C versus the method of one C when generalized only the actual topics of refuses the social material reproduction of this world, which was a very explicit solvency claim from the one is caustic squares, the alternative lets white people off the hook for violence by refusing to engage in material solutions to celebration conflict in their theory proves that white people will opt out of the record strike, deciding that paying rent is good, but only the app does what the leak mate says which is engaging in material strategies that actually get at the root of why violence is produced in the first place. I'm going with the scale of work because it's barely answered the short hours. You need this question that turns and filters all solvency. And turns your willingness to risk emissions or engagement with giving space, i.e. the way that the 1EC did it. Scales conceded that racial capitalism is always operating at scale which requires all of us to engage in projects of resistance. The alternative looks like the alternative looks like capitalist realism, which tells us that acts of sacrifice and rise to the capitalism, which is obviously not true because we have 1 million words as to why engaging in material analysis through questions of solvency and technical discussions are good, which they really just haven't engaged with proper only a generalization of the strike in this world by refusing the reproduction of value that reduces this world in the first place, which is a solvency question that they do not answer. The example about Southwestern is an independent design that takes out all other defense on the paper page. Now the leak rating of 1C evidence is the 2 AC evidence is drawn to prove that the solves, but the alternative one fails to turn the analysis of the first and second versus the third and fourth parts of the Captain Merlin journal, which means we also winning that the app outweighs all the top level framing they given the 2 hour they've missed. The vote of one generalizing the strike is its refusal to reproduce the conditions of this world because the 1EC does not abolish the work of this world, nor asks for reforms, but instead abolishes the value form that necessitates anti-like engineering social reproduction and with care work on the Captain Maternal, which is a root cause and sequencing argument that the case not answering in terms that the 2 argues the 1EC has already specified what stage of Captain Maternal we endorse it is the warfighter stage 4, which is why James literally takes up Dubois' theory to explain the warfighter stage is the stage where the Captain Maternal goes on strike against this world and gives up everything for it. That ends the world means we access all their claims about why sacrifice matters. That means that at best you vote in the affirmative, you vote on the alpha ways themselves okay, and at worst you vote on permutation do both. It's not severance, which is really the only offensive answer coming out of the short because we have one that is not mutually exclusive, which means there's no vote for severance or academic integrity, permutation salty, entirely for winning that things like if you're winning that things like revolutionary love or revolutionary sacrifice are a part of achieving the general strike, i.e. every person in the building refusing to pay the rent probably involves sacrifice, but it's the best thing to do because generalizing the strike is key to solve for everyone in that building because otherwise the system of rent is upheld in the first place, and then generalizing that across every sector by refusing the reproduction of this world is the only thing that solves our large scale impacts. Not the least debate proper is largely answered by all the offense I did above, but the app does not endorse Dubois, which is its fundamental defense. They have not endorse the generalization of the strike, which explicitly refuses to endorse specific people because that is the opposite of generalization. That is a localization of movements that we have critiqued because it does not rise to the scale of the unique question of capitalism collapsing now, but the alternative does link harder because it says endorsing specific or individual acts of revolutionary love or self-sacrifice are good. That lapses back in the same distinctions they say, where when we identify individual people, it allows for violence to happen because Dubois did things and Vigilantes did things. So that's more true of the alternative than we have. Well, to say her name, voter, no link. We have often, 1ER has said a lot of names from the block, but that's an individualistic frame. Using poetry for solvency proves that they know because if poetry is mortgage, they still work within this role, which turns